watching Bloomberg UTV.
Hello and welcome to Financial Planner, the show where we take complex financial concepts and break them down into easy, digestible bits. My name is Smriti Rao. With me is certified financial planner Sumit Ved. Today we're talking about money and marriage. And here's a statistic that might boggle your mind, but at least in the United States, money is the #1 cause for all divorces. That fact just draws to attention the importance of talking about money in your relationship early on, and as you progress on, keep that conversation going to your marriage, and that just makes sure that all of your lines of communication are open between you and your partner. Now you can be part of this conversation by emailing us at financialplanner@utvmoney.com. You can also find me on facebook.com. All you have to do is search for my name, Smriti Rao, and up I'll pop. So here's what's coming up on the show today. We'll talk about how you can disaster-proof your relationship by being open about your finances, plus how talking about financial goals can help even before you get married. And finally, if your better half is burning through all of those credit cards, what can you say or do to prevent all your money from being burned? So lots of things to talk about, and let's get started. Sumit, thanks for coming in. So the first question I want to talk about, the thing that I want to address, is that marriage, all of those things have changed tremendously, and we've changed tremendously. You know, our lives are not the same as our parents' life. The way that we live, the way we spend, the way we look at things are very different from our parents' generation.
They are, in a way, and in a way not. There's this book, Men Are From Mars and Women From Venus. I think perpetually that's been true. And our sense is, I don't think so anything has changed. What has changed is the environment around you.
Right.
And in that environment, what is getting changed is the way you are seeing a certain scenario itself. So let's take an example. In these days, women and men are both working.
Right.
Independent, confident,
Right.
managing their own money. That means independent views. Now that independent views is what a challenge is to try and get them on the same plane. You know,
Right.
It's not about that money is becoming a bigger issue. Money was the issue even earlier. The point was one partner used to say something, other used to agree.
Right.
These days both have a point of view.
The relationship is more egalitarian to that extent.
That's
because
right.
both parties are making money. Both of them have a say equally in
That's right.
where the money is being used. And the other thing I want to talk about is the way we deal with and handle money is pretty much a function of our own personalities and the way that we look at this particular commodity.
Definitely, you know, money relationship is very psychological. Money relationship is very, very childhood oriented. The way you have seen your parents behaving and handling money, the way you see around you things happening itself, will determine how will you handle your money when you grow up itself. And also there are built-in aspirations. You know, there is a very emotional attachment to money. Many a time we see many couples come up at different point of views with different perspectives, because each has pent-up aspirations which they want to express in a very different money terms.
Right. Okay. So imagine, so then you have two different people with two very different financial personalities. Both
Yes.
of them are coming together.
Yep.
And the one thing that is bound to dominate their relationship is money. Talk to us about money being the #1 culprit in marital misunderstandings.
Okay, let's address this by going back in history. Okay, let's take our parents. In our parents' environment, there was a single point of communication, which used to be most of the time males, because they were the earning members of the family, and the final decision, especially to do with money, used to lie with them. Now that has changed. The second point, in earlier environment, the way environment was available to you across the board, there was not enough avenues for you to get distracted by spending your money.
Right.
So whenever there used to be an income coming to home, the first part was, let's save the money for the rainy day, and whatever is left, we'll spend together towards the family objectives.
Right.
Now what we are seeing changes is that people are, when they get money, instead of saving, they're spending first. Why? Because the environment around them is changing itself. You know, there are a lot of things available to spend money.
Right.
So saving is taking a back seat. When saving takes a back seat, that's a beginning of financial hell.
Right, financial hell indeed. So talking about money doesn't come easily for a lot of people, especially if you're in a relationship. The mere fact that you have to talk about this sensitive topic is off-putting for a lot of couples. But we do know that for couples who are serious about going forward and getting married, there are a couple of questions that you can run through with your better half and then maybe try and get some answers to them. early on. So I want to get started and then bring up this little graphic that says questions couples must ask. The first thing is you must ask, Sumit, correct me if I'm wrong, but you must sit down with your better half and then say, can we talk about money? How important is financial communication?
I think more than financial communication, it's the mutual trust which is the most paramount. And within mutual trust, financial communication and financial trust plays a very big role itself. So if as a couple we are getting married, over a period of time we need to have this fundamental trust in each other. And that's where the financial communication need to start. You need to sit down, try and understand where each one of us is, try and understand what our aspirations are, what our financial dreams are, financial goals are, and try and see if you have financial compatibility. Many a time what happens is one is a saver, other is a spender, and that's like if you don't have the same page, it's a potential pitfall.
Which is the next question that I was going to come to, is that you must ask, are you a saver or a spender when it comes to money? Ask yourself the same question and also ask your better half whether that person is a saver or a spender. How disruptive is it if one person is completely irresponsible about their finances? What sort of impact do you think that has on potential relationships?
In fact, Smriti, let's be practical. Imagine two people sitting together and asking this question to each other. Are you a saver or a spender? Answer is going to be saver, because most of the time it's more of infatuation in the early, era of relationship. When you're trying to know each other, you're trying to impress upon each other. So our suggestion is don't be so theoretical. Don't go and sit across and ask. I think you have a time of knowing each other by watching each other.
Right.
So even for example, you go on a date. So what kind of places does your partner like? When you go there, how do you pay that money? Is it being paid by cash? Is it being paid by credit card? So both of you are off to shops to choose your engagement rings. What kind of engagement rings are people really aspiring to buy? I've seen many a time couples having pre-decided notions about it. They don't even ask, I want the biggest diamond ring. Hello?
Can you afford it?
That's right, and at least seek permission. You need to communicate. Is it making sense? Can we afford it? Is this right? So I think you'll have many telltale signs coming your way if you are watchful.
Right.
So don't ask, but watch. That's my point.
Don't ask, just watch. That's a great idea. The other thing couples must talk about, do you want to have a budget? That seems a little silly, is it not? Because we've been talking all the while that it's important to have a budget wherever you are, whatever stage of the relationship you might be in, have a budget for yourself. And if you're already a couple that's engaged and going to get married,
it's kind of pretty crazy to talk about it again and again,
Right,
but it's fundamental. Why it's fundamental? Let's take in a professional environment, if both husband and wife are working in a company, I'm sure they're living within a budget in their professional environment. So you go and work in a company, every company has a business plan. Within business plan there are budgets, there are do's and don'ts. You cannot go beyond that. You're answerable. If you keep going beyond it, you might lose your job. That's how the professional relationships are. But when it comes to personal things, budget goes for a toss.
Because people are so lax about it. They think that I think for a large part, and a large part of it has to do, I think, with discipline, self-discipline, whether you can have this budget and stick by it. A lot of times I think people get carried away by impulsive spending, which is a large problem.
And also there's a third part.
Which is?
Natural fear of finance.
Because you think it's complex.
That's right. I'll put everything under carpet and see what really is going to come and hit me in future, and that's the wrong part. So the point which I'm articulating out here is, it's not that you're not used to budgets. You are living 12 hours of your day in an office environment, in a budgeted environment. When it comes to home, please for God's sake extend the same environment. You have to live within a budget, and once you do that, you'll also understand compatibility.
Oh, talk to us about that. Why is that an indicator of compatibility?
Okay, so let's say both the couples, that is husband and wife, sat together and decided that, okay, our entertainment expense this month is going to be this, plus or some of the other expenses are going to be this. Now, month on month, if you're bursting certain budgeted expense, there will be a reason behind it. So the reason will be either we are going out to restaurants a lot, either we are partying a lot, or either one of us is doing this much more.
Going shopping like crazy.
Yeah, and if you're not able to have a consensus on this, this is first sign of trouble, because over a period of time, small habits lead to big changes. And which needs to be watched in for, and that's where communication comes in. At any point of time, especially I am not propagating that, because you're not financially compatible, talk about separation. That should not happen. That's the last bit. It's only about regular communication and being aware about each other.
Right. Okay. So communicate about it. Also know very early on that you must have a budget and stick to that budget. Now the most contentious question of it all. Should we have a joint checking account or separate accounts or both? That's a
Yeah.
question that irks a lot of people, because especially in these days, I know for a fact that a lot of women consider financial independence as a sign of their own independence, and the fact that they might have to go ahead and make a joint account perhaps after marriage might be to them something that seems like a threat to their own independence. What would you say to that?
Okay, I'll answer it in two perspectives. One is classical, which is me. Okay, I'm a very old school in this part. I believe in having a joint account. Okay, there's no personal account which I carry in my own name or my wife's name itself. And the reason is, I think my wife is much better in terms of managing day-to-day finances than I am. So she's the one who's in charge of day-to-day finances. She manages all the bank accounts. She manages all the payments itself. On broad levels, we are on the same sense. That's point number one. The second point is, go back in mythology. Why is woman known as the Lakshmi of Ghar? There is a reason. It's not that, you know, in a different way she's getting money because of dowry. That's negative. That's very bad way of thinking. The real word is that they are much better in managing money and handling money. That's why they're known as Lakshmi. Now, if that's the point, give them their due respect by letting them be involved in very important aspect of managing money.
Right, but the Ghar Ki Lakshmi did not have a debit card or an unlimited credit card, which is something that all of us have to deal with these days.
No, but Ghar Ki Lakshmi, if you give her responsibility, trust me, they'll be much better in handling that responsibility than the Ghar Ka Lakshma, if you can say that word, for lack of anything else. But the point I'm trying to make out there is, it's all about trust. You cannot do away with this trust, because that's paradigm of a relationship. Having said that, in a new environment, if there are two independent individuals who feel more comfortable retaining their own individuality through their individual bank accounts, they better do that, because that's what their comfort is.
Okay, we'll continue this conversation on whether you should have a joint checking account or separate accounts, or maybe even both. But after this short break, remember you can still send us your emails at financialplanner@utvmoney.com.